Hello and welcome back. I'm Walter the Bearded Hooker, and in this video we are going to join 5 squares into a row. So because this is a sampler square Afghan, so each square is a different stitch, I think I'm going to do a total of 30 squares, so I'll have 6 rows of 5, and I like to do them to put them together as I'm crocheting, and then we can have the rows ready to go. Once we have 10 done, I'll show you how to join those. So what you want to do is, I have my stack of 5 squares. I have them all facing right side up and oriented, so the beginning chain is on the bottom and where we ended is at the top. Again, that's my personal preference. You could do it any way you want. We call that artistic license. So you take 2 of your squares and you want to put them right sides together. And then I like to take out one of the stitch markers, which came out of that square, and then I use the other stitch marker and put the 2 corners together. And then that way, as I'm crocheting across, I'm able to make sure that all the stitches are lined up. And then I do that on both ends. This is the Big Twist Shine, which is Joann's brand of yarn. And I'm using the 5.5 or I crochet hook for the border. And you want to make sure you do this loosely, because if you do it too tight, what'll happen is wherever the seams are will kind of pucker in, and then the blanket won't drape correctly. So then when we look at the stitches here, we're going to take the outside loops. So if you look at this is an outside loop, here's the inside loop. Let me see if I can get this to focus a little, make it a little bigger. There we go. So when we look at it here, this is the outside loop, and then this is the outside loop, and this one in here and this one in here, those are the inside loops. So if you were looking at it from the right side, like this is the front loop and this is the back loop, right? So when we are doing it this way, it's the 2 back loops that we are going to slip stitch together. And when we do that, it's going to give a nice looking, it's going to lay flat, and then on the inside, when we open it, it's going to have a nice like kind of ridge that gives it another like element of detail for the finished blanket. So here's the corner, and we want to start here. We're going to start 1 stitch to the right of the corner, and I'm going to go in and grab the loop like that, and then push my hook through, and then I'm going to take the yarn, pull it through, and you just want to do like a quick little slip. You kind of anchor it and then go through the same spot, the same stitch, and now we're going to do a slip stitch. And then remember, we want to do these on the loose end. If this stitch marker is in your way, you certainly can move it. I'm just going to crochet around it. And then it's this outside loop and that outside loop. Okay, I'm going to move it. The stitch marker's in my way. And now I'm going to put it back. So again, it's this outside loop, and the slip stitch. And the reason I like slip stitching it together better than whip stitching it with a needle is that I crochet faster than I can hand sew. And I also like the look that it has. And I feel that there's less ends to weave. And just remember to keep the tension loose. You don't want it too tight because you don't want it to pucker. And at the end you want it to be able to drape nicely. And then if you see, as you line it up here, every stitch has its corresponding stitch, and then you just keep slip stitching across. And then take out the stitch marker, do the corner, and then we're going to go one stitch to the left of the corner, which is here. And then we open it up. And we have, this is the way it looks. So it has like this nice ridge on the inside, and we flip it over to the outside. You can see where you slip stitched it here. And that is how you put two squares together. I will do the next one. Where did I put my scissors? I'm just removing the stitch markers. I'm just going to put it on one stitch marker on this corner here, so I know what I'm working towards, and it helps hold them in place. And then you can go through and like kind of line them up as you're going. And again, it is, so here are my two corners, this stitch and this stitch. So I want to start in this stitch and in this stitch. So kind of lock it in place. I like to crochet over the tail, and then we're going to slip stitch into the same spot. And as I come up to where I had put the stitch markers to signify the corners, I'm going to pop them off. And then we're going to go one past the corner. Leave a tail to weave in. And that's the second one done. So I'm going to go and add the final two. I will be putting a stitch marker back on the bottom corners, but not on the top corners, because when we add the next row, it'll be on the bottom, and then that way I'll know where the corner is to add the next row. And then when I have another 5 squares done and put them together, and I'll make another video on how to join the rows together. So I will be back once I have all 5 together. Hello and welcome back. So I have gone through and attached all of my 5 completed squares together. And you will see that I left the stitch marker on the outside corners for the 2 outsides, here and here. And then on the bottom corners, I left the stitch markers as well. This is going to be the top row of my Afghan. So when we think about how we're going to join it, make a quick sketch. Okay, so I'm going to do a total of 30 squares, and so this here that I just finished attaching is here. So I need to keep a stitch marker in each of the outside corners, and since this is the top row that I just did, that's this piece here. And then I still need a stitch marker here, 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 and here, because when I do the next row that I'm going to attach, I need those stitch markers as a guide when I'm attaching this row to this row. So that's why I left the stitch markers here and all across this bottom, because this is the bottom of this row, but it's going to be joined to the top of this row here. So you want to keep those stitch markers, so again you have that visual when you're doing them together. And the fact that you're going to be crocheting across 40 inches slip stitching, it's much more imperative to have those stitch markers here when you're doing this long space, as opposed to just from here to here, because it's only 8 inches. So that's why those stitch markers are still there. And my apologies for the rough, quick draft. So that actually concludes today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please put those in the comment section below. I will make another joining video as soon as I have another 5 squares done and joined. Then I'll do another video to show how you join the 2 rows together. Thank you for joining me today. Again, my name is Walter, the Bearded Hooker. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and share for anybody who you think would enjoy this content. Thanks, have a great day, and remember, keep on hooking.